Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I would like to make a quick video on how I passed my NCLEX with a minimum of 60 questions using UWORLD as my only source. Let's just get right into this video by saying UWORLD is amazing. I do not know how else to put this or how else to say it, but UWORLD is amazing. I would not recommend using more than 2 sources while preparing for the NCLEX. Once again, I would not recommend using more than 2 sources while preparing for the NCLEX. I honestly believe that UWORLD has all the information needed to pass the NCLEX. I would recommend when preparing for the NCLEX, you should set goals and you should try to meet those goals. You should also put time into studying for the NCLEX because the NCLEX should be, passing the NCLEX should be one of your top goals. Because without the NCLEX, you cannot be a registered nurse and you cannot start working. So let's just be honest with ourselves that our goal is to pass the NCLEX after nursing. I believe that everyone should set goals while preparing for the NCLEX and should try to meet those goals. For instance, my goal was to do 75 questions a day. And some days I finished the 75 questions. Some days I did not finish the 75 questions, which rolled over the next day, and I had to do 75 questions that day, including the leftover questions the previous day, if that makes sense. So I graduated on May 20th. I received my ATT on May 28th. I set my goals after I received my ATT. I scheduled my NCLEX for June 29th. Because it was the only available date, which gave me time to study for my NCLEX. I'm going to have to apologize in advance because this video is going to be all over the place. Let's move right into how I use UWORLD. I use UWORLD as a learning tools. I did not use UWORLD as if I was taking an exam. So my goal was to do 75 questions a day, and what I would do is I would break my 75 questions into 25 question, if that makes sense. So I set my first 25 questions. I will read the questions, understand what the question is saying or what the question is asking, and then I will answer the questions. If either I get the question correct or I get the question wrong, I will still read the rationales because there's something in the rationales that I may not have known. So as I leave the tutor mode on, the next questions may relate to the first question, or my 5th question may relate to my 2nd question, which will help me to answer that question, if that makes sense. So this is the reason why I would recommend leaving the tutor mode on as you do the QBank. I honestly believe that you should use UWORLD as a learning tools and not as if you're taking an exam. Hopefully that makes sense. So while answering your question and taking notes, I will recommend having a notebook or a white blank paper just to take your notes and separate your subtopic. For example, MedSurg has so many subtopics, endocrine, respiratory, and so forth. Separate your notes based on your subtopic. I would not recommend mixing your questions up. I would recommend doing subtopic one at a time and try to understand that subtopic before you move on to our next subtopic, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you guys an example on what I meant by taking notes and separating a subtopic and so forth. So this is respiratory. So what I did was excuse my handwriting, I wrote respiratory and I put Q mean questions, and it was 80 questions. So I take my notes, I know it's 80 questions in respiratory, and I have to get those 80 questions done, and I have to understand each and every questions, including the rationales. So I'm gonna show you an example and one of my notes. Let's get this. Okay, so here is cystic fibrosis. So as you can see, this is cystic fibrosis. You may not fully understand due to my handwriting. And what I did was that's what the question was about. The question was about cystic fibrosis. I wrote the diet to expect in the diet a patient needs to take in cystic fibrosis. What technique that can be done for a person who has cystic fibrosis. What to expect in a patient who has cystic fibrosis, and so forth. So guys, trust and believe me when I say use UWORLD as a learning tools, which I did not use UWORLD as if I was taking an exam. I did not look at score, because I know to myself score does not matter. As long as I'm learning the information, that's all matter, because the information is what I needed to the NCLEX. I don't need a score to the NCLEX. I need the information to the NCLEX. So when I finished my QBank, I had left back with 206 questions. I did not do the medication questions. I could show you guys what I meant by score does not matter, and I passed my NCLEX with a minimum of 60 questions. I did my first assessment. I ran out of time, which I know in NCLEX I have 4 hours to finish 130 questions. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't really care to do my next self-assessment. I only did 1 self-assessment out of the 2 self-assessment I have on UWORLD. In my first self-assessment, I did not do well. Like I said before, I ran out of time. And this is one of the reasons why I keep saying score does not matter on UWORLD. What matters on UWORLD is understanding the information, retaining the information, and taking that information to the NCLEX. That's all that matters. I honestly believe that the key to the NCLEX is confidence. If you do not have confidence, you're gonna fail. That's what I personally believe. So I did not realize I was giving myself pep talks like almost for the last weeks before my exam. So my pep talk was, I know my information, all I need to do is apply. And I've been saying that over and over and over. As I was going to my NCLEX, as I was walking to the site, I was saying to myself, I know my information, all I have to do is apply it. I know my information, all I have to do is apply it. So I got there at 7:30. My exam was scheduled for 8 a.m. So due to COVID, they were only accepting 4 people at a time to enter the room. So when I got there, there were already 4 people ahead of me. So they came out, they called the 4 set of people, they went in. Then they came out like 10 minutes afterwards, called the next 4 set of people, which I was part of the next set of group of people to go in. So by the time you fully settle down to take the NCLEX, it's probably like 8:30, 8:40. It's around that time. It's nerve-wracking having to sit there to wait to get checked in. It's just nerve-wracking. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. There's nothing that can be done. We all have to deal with it. So I sat down to take my test. Let's be honest, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I feel like I was guessing through the exam. So I went to the NCLEX with a goal. My goal was to spend 1 hour and 30 questions. My goal was. So I sat there, I did my first 30 questions, which I did spend an hour on my first 30 questions. I did not second guess myself. I did not sit there and overthink my question. I didn't do none of that. I sat there, I read my question carefully. I read the answer, and I made the best guess, if that's the case, not knowing I did know my information. So as I was going through the exam, I keep going. First hour gone, hit my first 30 questions. Then I keep going. Then I look up my time and I was like, okay, I'm at 58 questions. hit the next question. Then I hit the next question, which was 60, and then my test shut down. My test shut down at 60 questions, and I started to panic. I thought I failed. I came out the exam and I texted my friend and I said to her, this is exactly what I said to my friend. On June 29th at 10:14, I came out from my exam, text my friend, and I said, I know I failed that exam. That's exactly how I felt, like I failed my exam. So a few hours after I received an email and I decided to do the Pearson VUE tricks. And I did the Pearson VUE tricks and I received a good pop-up. And at that moment, it was kind of a relief. Like, okay, I passed my NCLEX. That's how I felt after seeing the Pearson VUE, the tricks, the good pop-up. And then after I saw that, then I then all of my questions started to recycle for some reason. I don't know, I started to remember every question with every answer. And I was like, okay, yes, I made the right choice. Yes, that was correct. Yes, this is correct. And I started to remember every question after that. But for some reason, I cannot remember my first question. I tried my best. I cannot remember my first question. So how my NCLEX was, I was having multiple choice, and then I had a select all apply. After my select all apply, I had a next multiple choice, and after that I had a next select all apply. For some reason, I didn't understand why I was having all these select all apply questions. And then I remember I had a select apply on one topic, and then I have next select apply on the next topic. So I don't know if I was getting those questions correctly. That's why I was jumping from topic to topic. I know I received one question on an image, which I received a next question on a similar image. And they were asking me how I should place this patient. And I guess I answered that question correctly because I haven't received any other question after that, after I received a question based on different topics. So yes, guys, I passed my NCLEX with a minimum of 60 questions just using UWORLD, and I use UWORLD as a learning tool and not as if I was taking an exam. And I would recommend UWORLD to anyone who is studying for the NCLEX, and I'm begging you guys, please do not use UWORLD as if you're taking an exam. Use it as a learning tool. Learn as you go. And yeah, I wish you the best on your NCLEX, and I know you can do it. And if you have any question or you need advice, or if you feel I did not cover certain things in this video, or you need me to explain certain things further, please reach out. I'm willing to help anyone who is willing to put in the work in taking the NCLEX, because that's exactly what I did. I put the work in and I get the result I needed or I wanted.